Hello, my name is Richard Eastman, and I was transportation chairman on the 1960 float special delivery, which won first prize Class H. Bob Cushman and Bill Jacobson were the joint chairmen for this float. The float depicted a giant stork with long, spindly legs making a special delivery. The float was 40 feet long, 13 feet wide, and the stork was 17 feet tall. For animation, the stork lifted the baby from the bassinet and set it back down as well, and it flapped its wings in the process. A tape recorder alternately played a mix of baby cries and a lullaby. For this float, the San Luis Obispo students contributed the jet starter generator, which drove the float and provided 110-volt power animation. The starter didn't arrive on time, so the float was built with a gap in the back, and when the starter did arrive, we drove the starter underneath the existing float, and Bill and Bob built some connecting links that attached the starter to the float. Those connecting links had about a 2-inch gap on either side of them, so the starter, which was four-wheel drive, would move one direction, while the float, which was on casters, would move another direction, particularly when you were trying to turn it. During move-out, between the time I had checked the route and move-out had commenced, the city of Pasadena had hung their Christmas bells along Colorado Boulevard. The bells hung well below the 17-foot height of the stork. Ron Simons, on the front of the float, was guiding me as I drove up Colorado Boulevard, trying to avoid the bells. But because the float had this funny-looking linkage in the front of it, the starter would go one direction, and there would be a delay between the time that the starter started in the left or right turn and the time that the float hit against the stops and started the turn. And the result was that we ended up with ringing about half the bells along Colorado Boulevard, sent 3 of them wrapping around the cables.